Lisa Satawa.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What matter are you here for?
I'm here for Gavin Kirby. Arraignment.
Okay.
Give you a speech. Third charge. Yeah. Okay.
Can you hear me in the jail?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. On the record, in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Gavin Ray Kirby, file number 24-00412 FY, council appearance.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Lisa Satawa on behalf of Mr. Kirby.
Okay, are you Gavin Kirby?
Yep.
Okay, Mr. Kirby, today's the date we're proceeding on an arraignment. I have a felony complaint here. It alleges that on or about February 24th, 2023, at the area of 707 Prudence Street, apartment 219. This is in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, that you did allegedly, contrary to law, commit the act in count 1 of criminal sexual conduct in the 4th degree by force or coercion. It alleges that you did engage in sexual contact with another person, that being a Savannah Ray, using force or coercion to accomplish the sexual contact, and that this is contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.520E1B. There's a Sex Offender Registration Act notice. It says this is a tier 1 offense under the Sex Offender Registration Act if the victim is 18 years or older under MCL 28.722R4. It is a tier 2 offense if the defendant has a prior conviction for a tier 1 offense. It is a tier 2 offense if the victim was between the ages of 13 and 17 inclusive. It is a tier 3 offense if the victim was under 13 years of age and the defendant was 17 years or more. It is a tier 3 offense if the defendant has a prior conviction for a tier 2 offense. There's an HIV STD testing notice attached to count 1. It says, take notice that pursuant to Michigan Compiled Law 333.5129, upon bind over to the circuit court or recorder's court, the district court judge shall order the defendant to be tested for sexually transmitted infection, hepatitis B infection, and for the presence of HIV or antibody to HIV if the judge determines there is a reason to believe the violation involves sexual penetration or exposure to body fluid of the defendant. If the district judge determines that testing is not required upon conviction, the court must order the defendant to be tested. Count 1 is a high court misdemeanor. The maximum penalty is 2 years and or $500 in fines, mandatory HIV STD testing to be taken upon arrest is your DNA. There's a count 2. Criminal sexual conduct in the 4th degree by force or coercion, also alleging that you did engage in sexual contact with another person, that being Savannah Ray, using force or coercion to accomplish the sexual contact. And this was contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.520E1B. Again, there's a Sex Offender Registration Act notice attached and an HIV STD testing notice attached to count 2. Do you understand the charges read in counts 1 and count 2 and the maximum penalty in both counts?
Yes.
Okay, you have the right to be represented by counsel. You are represented by retained counsel today for the purposes of your arraignment. You have the right to have an attorney represent you at all of your court appearances. You have the right to have an attorney represent you and be present if you're questioned by law enforcement. If you could not afford to hire your own attorney, you could have made a request to have the public defender's office appointed to represent you at the expense of the public. I will note here that you are retaining counsel for the pendency of this matter. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Kirby, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You can plead not guilty or you can stand mute. If you stand mute, this matter will proceed all the way to a jury trial. You have the right to have a preliminary examination in this matter because it's a high court misdemeanor. You have the right to have that preliminary examination within 21 days of today's date being the date that you're arraigned. The purpose of the preliminary examination is to require the prosecution put forth evidence to establish whether or not they have sufficient probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause sufficient to charge you with the crime. Do you understand your rights so far?
Yes.
Okay. You're currently scheduled for a probable cause conference before Judge Stacia Buchanan. You can appear via Zoom or in person for the probable cause conference, and it's scheduled for February 29th, 2024 at 9:30 in the morning. You have a preliminary examination before Judge Buchanan that is held in person at the court. March 7th, 2024 at 8:30 in the morning. You have the right to the presumption of innocence. Anything you say, again, could be used against you. So you also have the right to remain silent. You have the right to proceed to trial and remain silent at your trial. You have the right at the time of your trial to confront and cross-examine any of your accusers or any witnesses the prosecutor calls to testify against you. You have the right to have witnesses subpoenaed to testify on your behalf. You can remain silent at your trial and not have silence be used against you. You can also have evidence presented at the time of your jury trial that you believe show a defense to the charge being brought against you. You have the right to require the prosecutor prove each element of the charges of criminal sexual conduct in the fourth degree being brought against you beyond a reasonable doubt at your jury trial. You also have the right to be considered for pretrial release from custody. We'll address your bond in just a moment. Counsel, is your client currently employed?
Yes, he is, Your Honor. He's a student. He's scheduled to graduate from LCC as a welder in April of 2024. He has maintained a grade point average just below 3.5. He is also working at O'Reilly's on Michigan Avenue. He's been there for a year. He was residing in the city of Lansing in an apartment.
I'm not addressing bond right now. I just asked, was he employed?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay, thank you. The court's going to enter a plea of not guilty on his behalf at this time. Is he at the address, residing at the address still on Prudent? Or do you have a new address?
Well, upon release, he would be residing with his parents. So that address is 4403 Riverview Drive in Alma, and it's 48801.
What's his phone number?
I can give you his mother's phone number.
He doesn't have a phone number? Mr. Kirby, do you have a phone?
Yes.
Did the police
What's your phone
take it?
Yeah, they took it.
Police took his phone.
Okay, what's your phone number?
989-600-2170.
So you want your mail to go to the address in Alma, correct?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay. Counsel, is your client currently on probation or on parole?
No,
Does he have any other matters pending in any other courts?
no, and no priors either.
Okay, thank you. You can address bond.
Thank you. Your Honor, my client stands before you as his first contact ever with law enforcement or any sort of court experience. He is currently 22 years old. The complainant in this case is 21. This is not a predatory situation at all. They met on a dating app, and evidently, since we're here, it ended in a misunderstanding of some kind. His parents are very, very supportive, and I believe they're in the courtroom. Their names are Cindy and Tony Kirby. And he also has two siblings, a sister and a brother, who he's also very close to. He has lots of community support. As I mentioned, if he were released, he would be living with his parents, and they would be monitoring or supervising. Overall, they describe him as being a pretty shy person. He likes video games. He was a high school athlete, Alma High School. He graduated cross country, baseball, and basketball. But overall, he is, there's no flight risk. He's not a danger to the community. And Your Honor, we'd ask you to consider a personal bond. And
Thank you. I
obviously, he does not really know this person, so he would, no contact is not an issue if the court intends to
Thank you.
order that.
Thank you. I was gonna say that I don't see any prior interaction with law enforcement or the criminal justice system noted here on his criminal history. And understanding the presumption of innocence, the court believes it's reasonable to grant a personal recognizance bond. Bond will be set in the amount of 500 personal recognizance. While out on bond, you do have the following conditions. You're not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol, marijuana, or illegal controlled substance. You're not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You're not to have contact directly or indirectly with the alleged victim, Savannah Rue, but that doesn't sound like it'll be a problem. You're not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever the alleged victim lives, works, or goes to school. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. You're not to cause anybody else to have third-party contact with Savannah Rue on your behalf. You do need to report to all of your court dates, and you need to report on time. You're not to travel outside the state without first getting approval of the court. You understand that?
Yes.
And you need to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release. You can get information from the jail as to how you make contact with pretrial services, okay?
Yes.
Do you have any questions about your bond conditions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, any additional matters for the record, counsel?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
You're all set.
Thank you.
No problem. On the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Eduardo Chora, file number 23-03230 FY, counsel appearance.
Assistant Public Defender John Lee on behalf of Eduardo Miguel Chora.
Probably just have to change it. Yeah. Okay, let's see. You're Eduardo Chora?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, today's the date and the time set for an arraignment. I have a felony complaint here. It alleges that on or about December 10th, 2020 through May 31st, 2022, the area, it says Lansing area of city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, that you did allegedly in count 1 commit the act of extortion against an Olivia Ashworth, and count 2 extortion against an Amanda Rutledge, and at count 3 of extortion against a Monica Donnelly. Count 1, 2, and 3 allege that you did maliciously threaten to injure those people with the intent thereby to extort money or any pecuniary advantage, whatever, or to compel the person to threaten to refrain from doing an act against his or her will, and this was contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.213. Count 1, 2, and 3 are all felonies. The maximum penalty in those counts each 20 years in prison or $10,000 in fines. Count 4, 5, and 6 are all charged as computers using to commit a crime, maximum imprisonment of 20 years or more or life. The allegations are that in counts 4, 5, and 6, you did use a computer program, computer system, or computer network to commit, attempt to commit, conspire to commit, or solicit another to commit extortion under MCL 750.213, and that this was contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 752.796 and Michigan Compiled Law 752.7973F. Counts 4, 5, and 6 are all felonies. Maximum penalty 20 years and or $20,000 in fines on each count. Reimbursement for government expenses incurred in relation to the violation in a manner indicated by MCL 769.1F, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed for the underlying conviction. Count 7, tampering with evidence, alleges that you did tamper with evidence in a criminal case punishable by more than 10 years, alleging you did knowingly and intentionally remove, alter, conceal, destroy, or otherwise tamper with evidence to be offered in a criminal case where the crime was punishable by a maximum term of imprisonment of more than 10 years or imprisonment for life or any term of years. Count 7, under MCL 750.483A6B is a felony. Maximum penalty 10 years in prison and or $20,000. A consecutive sentence may be imposed for any other conviction. Counts 8 and counts 9, both charged as stalking aggravated, alleging that you did in count 8 against an Olivia Ashworth and in count 9 against an Amanda Rutledge, engage in a willful course of conduct involving repeating or continuous harassment of those individuals, the conduct being such that would cause a reasonable person to feel terrorized, frightened, intimidated, or threatened or harassed or molested. Said conduct actually causing those people to feel terrorized or frightened or intimidated or threatened or harassed or molested. And the course of conduct included the making of one or more credible threats against those persons, and that this was contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.411I. Count 8 and count 9 are both felonies. The maximum penalty in each count, 5 years in prison and or $10,000 in fines, probation for any term of years, but not less than 5. Count 10, child sexually abusive material possession, alleges that you did knowingly possess or seek and access child sexually abusive material contrary to MCL 750.145C4A. There's a Sex Offender Registration Act notice attached to count 10. It says this is a tier 1 offense under the Sex Offender Registration Act. It is a tier 2 offense if the defendant has a prior conviction for a tier 1 offense. And it is a tier 3 offense if the defendant has a prior conviction for a tier 2 offense. Count 10 is a felony with a maximum penalty, 4 years and or $10,000 in fines. Do you understand the charges read in counts 1 through 10 and the maximum penalty attached to each?
I do.
You have the right to be represented by an attorney, and Mr. Lee is here to represent you from the Office of the Public Defender. He is representing you only for the purposes of your arraignment. You do have the right to have an attorney to represent you at all of your court appearances throughout the pendency of this criminal matter, and you have the right to have an attorney represent you if you're questioned by law enforcement. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can make a request to have the Public Defender's Office appointed to represent you at the expense of the public. Do you understand your right to counsel?
Yeah.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You can plead not guilty, or you can stand mute. If you stand mute, this matter will continue all the way to a jury trial. You do have the right to have a preliminary examination in this matter because each count in this complaint is a felony. As to each count, you have the right to require the prosecutor put forth sufficient evidence at your preliminary examination to establish probable cause that a crime was committed and then probable cause that you committed those crimes. You understand your right at the preliminary examination stage?
Yes.
You're currently scheduled for probable cause conference before Judge Cynthia Ward. It's gonna be Friday, March 1st, 2024 at 8 o'clock in the morning. You may appear in person or via Zoom for your probable cause conference. Your preliminary examination is scheduled before Judge Ward Friday, March 8th, 2024 at 9 o'clock in the morning in person at the court. You should get your notice to appear in Zoom instructions for Judge Ward.
Yes.
You have the right to plead guilty again and plead not guilty or stand mute. You have the right to proceed to a jury trial, and you have the right to the presumption of innocence because you're innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to require the prosecutor prove your guilt at trial by proving each element of the charges being brought against you beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to see, hear, or question in court any of the witnesses called against you at your trial. You have the right to have witnesses subpoenaed on your own behalf to testify at your trial as to your defense, and you also have the right to present evidence at trial that you believe show a defense to the charges being brought against you. You have the right to remain silent at trial and not have that silence be used against you, and you have the right to require the prosecutor prove each element of each of the charges being brought against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you have a question about your rights?
No.
You have the right to be considered for pretrial release from custody. We'll address your bond at the end of this hearing. For the purposes of his arraignment, the court will enter a plea of not guilty. Counsel, he's requesting court-appointed counsel.
No, he is not, Your Honor. He has retained counsel.
If that's correct, Mr. Chura?
Yes.
Okay. What's your counsel's name?
Carrie Huff.
Are you currently employed?
Yes.
Where's that?
Kroger, West Saginaw.
Excuse me?
West Saginaw, Kroger.
What's your home address?
1112 West Barnes Avenue.
In Lansing?
Yes.
Okay, what's your phone number?
517-455-6365.
Are you currently on probation or on parole?
No.
Do you have any other court cases pending?
No.
Counsel, you can address bond.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Chora reports no prior criminal justice contact. These are the first charges he has ever faced and has otherwise lived a crime-free life, Your Honor. He, of course, enjoys the presumption of innocence in this case. He is a full-time employee at Kroger. He has lived in Lansing his whole life. He helps take care of his child. He has his child 50-50 custody. In addition, he has extensive family and support here in the Lansing area. Your Honor, we understand that the allegations of this crime are something the court will consider. We simply ask that the court also consider that Mr. Chora has otherwise been a model citizen and has lived in Lansing throughout the entirety of his life. Thank you.
I can't consider that he's been a model citizen. I know nothing about him. I do know that he has no prior criminal conviction. That's all I know. And then that I also know that he is being charged with 10 felony counts. The majority of those felony counts facing 20 years in prison. And the allegations in support of those counts being extremely egregious and somewhat threatening in nature. Because of the serious nature of these allegations, there is, in the court's belief, some threat to the public safety. Because of that, bond will not be set at a personal recognizance. I will issue a cash surety bond. Bond will be set in the amount of 10,000 cash or surety with GPS tether. While out on bond, you're not to have any contact directly or indirectly with Olivia Ashworth, Amanda Rutledge, Monica Donnelly, or any children of those individuals. Do you understand that?
Yes.
In fact, you're not to have any contact with anyone under the age of 18 while you're out on bond unless it's your child. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
You're not to use, purchase, or possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You're not to travel outside the state without first getting permission from the court. You're not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol or drugs without a valid prescription. You're not to engage in any assaultive or any threatening behavior. You need to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release. You're not to be, again, in contact with Olivia Ashworth, Amanda Rutledge, Monica Donnelly, you're not to harass, intimidate, beat, molest, wound, stalk, threaten, or engage in any other conduct that would place them or their children in reasonable fear of bodily injury. That also includes your spouse, a former spouse, individual with whom you have a child in common, a resident or former resident of your household. You're not to cause any communication to be made directly between you and those parties, including Olivia Ashworth, Amanda Rutledge, and Monica Donnelly. And that means indirect contact with them as well. Do you know what indirect contact would mean? Or do you need me to give you some examples?
I understand what it means.
You're not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever they are. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Do you have any questions for the court at this time? Do you have any questions for the court?
No.
Okay. Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
Nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're all set. Thank you.
All right, income for me.
record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Lamar Bowser, file number 24-004444FY. Council appearance.
Assistant Public Defender John Lee appearing on behalf of Lamar Henry Bowers.
Okay, they put Bowser on here, that's wrong. It's Bowers, not Bowser.
Yes, ma'am.
That's
Thank you. Okay, today is the date and the time that's set for an arraignment. I have a felony complaint here. The complaint alleges that on or about February 20th, 2024, at the area of Stabler Street in Kavanaugh, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, that you did allegedly, contrary to law, commit the act in count 1 of weapons carrying concealed. The allegations are that you did carry a dangerous weapon, that being a pistol, whether concealed or otherwise in a vehicle operated or occupied by said defendant, that vehicle being a Buick Regal automobile, contrary to Michigan compiled law 750.227. Count 1 is a felony with the maximum penalty of 5 years in prison or $2,500 in fines, mandatory forfeiture of the weapon or devices required under the law. There's a count 2, police officer fleeing 4th degree under the penal code, alleging that being the operator of a motor vehicle to whom was given a visual or audible hand signal, voice, emergency light, or siren by Trooper Andrew Golden, a police officer who was in uniform, and the officer's motor vehicle being identified as an official police motor vehicle acting in the lawful performance of his duties, directing the defendant to bring his motor vehicle to a stop, did willfully fail to obey such direction by increasing the speed of the motor vehicle, contrary to Michigan compiled law 479 A12. Count 2 is a felony. The maximum penalty is 2 years and or $2,000 in fines. The Secretary of State shall suspend operators or chauffeur's license for a vessel privileged to operate shall be suspended for a period of not to exceed 5 years. Count 3, weapons felony firearm, alleging that you did carry or have on your person or in possession a firearm, that being a pistol, at the time that you committed or attempted to commit the felony of police officer fleeing eluding 4th degree, contrary to Michigan compiled law 750.227B. Count 3 is a felony, maximum penalty 2 years consecutively with and preceding any term of imprisonment imposed for the felony or attempted felony conviction. There's a mandatory forfeiture of the weapon or device required under the law. Do you understand the counts read from 1 through 3 and the maximum penalty?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you have the right to be represented by an attorney. Mr. Lee is representing you only for your arraignment, but you do have the right to have an attorney represent you at all your court appearances during the pendency of this matter. You also have the right to have an attorney represent you if you're questioned by law enforcement. If you can't afford to hire an attorney, you can make a request to have the public defender's office represent you at the expense of the public.
Okay.
You understand your right to counsel?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he requesting court-appointed counsel?
Yes, he is, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Bowers, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You can plead not guilty, or you can stand mute. If you stand mute, you should understand that this matter will continue all the way to your jury trial. You have the right to have a preliminary examination within 21 days of today's date, because count 1, 2, and 3 are all felonies. As to each count, you have the right to require the prosecutor to meet their burden and establish that they have sufficient probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause sufficient to charge you with the crime. The 21-day timeline that you have for your right to have your examination, that can only be waived if you waive it on the record or if the court finds good cause to go beyond that 21 days. Do you have any questions about your exam? You have the right to the presumption of innocence. You have a question, sir?
I do have a question. My phone was taken from my arrest, and I have no way
Let me
to
stop you.
contact.
Let me let me stop you. I had a very specific question to you. It was, do you have a question about your exam? Not about a cell phone.
No,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Okay, you have the right to the presumption of innocence. Anything you say, anything you put in writing can be used against you. You are innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to require the prosecutor prove your guilt at trial by proving each element of the charges being brought against you beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to remain silent at trial, not have the silence be used against you. You have the right to see, hear, or question any witness the prosecution calls against you at your trial. You have the right to have witnesses subpoenaed on your behalf to testify and to present evidence that you believe show a defense to the charge being brought against you. You have the right to require the prosecutor prove each element of each of the charges being brought against you beyond a reasonable doubt at your trial before you are deemed to be guilty. For the purposes of your arraignment, the court's going to enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. You have the right to be considered for pretrial release from custody, but we'll address your bond in just a moment. Are you currently employed?
Yes,
Where?
MTH Management. I'm a maintenance tech for Kano Apartments.
What's your home address?
My home address is 407 Morris River Drive, ma'am. Lansing, Michigan, 48910.
What's your phone number?
517-246-1463.
You're currently scheduled for a probable cause conference before Judge Stacia Buchanan, February 29, 2024 at 9:30 in the morning. You can appear via Zoom or in person for your probable cause conference. Your preliminary examination is in person at the court Thursday, March 7th, 2024, before Judge Buchanan at 8:30 in the morning. Did you get your notice to appear and Zoom instructions for Judge Buchanan?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you currently on probation or on parole?
I am on probation, ma'am.
You said you're what?
I am on probation.
Before which court?
Ingham.
Which court? I said, not county.
I'm not sure.
Do you know what judge put you on probation?
Judge Kennedy.
Okay, so 30th Circuit Court.
Yes, I believe so.
Other than the probation matter, do you have any other matters in court pending right now?
No, ma'am, I do not.
You can address bond counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. As Mr. Bowers has reported to the court, he is currently on probation for carrying a concealed weapon. As part of his probation, he is attending PATS and has recently started a new job. He lives here in the Lansing area and has the support of his dad, his brothers, and his sister. So he does not pose as a flight risk, but we understand that the court will have its concerns and please the court, Mr. Bowers is ready to accept the bond conditions and the bond that the court determines is necessary.
Does he have a hold, Mr. Lee?
Not that I'm aware of, Your Honor. Although it does mention a hold on his jail sheet, I just don't know where it would be from.
Yeah, that's what I see. I don't know if maybe circuit court put a hold on him. Nonetheless, A bond in this matter will be set in the amount of 1,000 personal recognizance with the following conditions. You're not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You already know that because you're on probation. But I'm gonna remind you of that. You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You're not to engage in any criminal activity while you're out on bonds. You're not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol or drugs unless you have a valid prescription. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You need to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release from custody. Do you have any questions about your bond conditions?
No, ma'am.
The bond sheet. You have it? PA 53.
Yeah.
Oh, you have it,
I'm
okay.
about to bring it.
No worries. Any additional matters for the record?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
You're all set, sir.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I missed the bond for him.
1,000 personal recognizance.
You.
Is he in-
Yeah. I got the other.
Sounds good. Okay. On the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus James Kalki Gerard, file number 24-00445, FY, council appearance.
Assistant Public Defender appearing on behalf of James Kalki Gerard.
You're Mr. James Kalki Gerard?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Kalki Gerard, I have a felony complaint here. It alleges that on or about February 20th, 2024, at South Pennsylvania Ave, at or near East Miller Road, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, you did allegedly, contrary to law, commit the act in count 1, weapons, ammunition, possession by prohibited person. It alleged that you did possess ammunition when ineligible to do so because you had been convicted of firearms discharged in or at a building causing injury, an offense punishable by imprisonment of more than 1 year, and the requirements for regaining eligibility had not been met, contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.22 for F7. Count 1 is a felony with the maximum penalty 5 years and or $5,000 in fines, and there's a mandatory forfeiture of any weapon or device. There is, however, an habitual offender's second offense notice. It says, take notice that the defendant was previously convicted of a felony or an attempt to commit a felony in that on or about July 27th, 2016. He was convicted of the offense of firearms discharged in or at the building causing injury in violation of Michigan Compiled Law 750.234B3 in the 30th Circuit Court for Ingham County, State of Michigan. Therefore, defendant is subject to the penalties provided by MCL 769.10 that enhances count 1 to be punishable by 1 1/2 times the maximum sentence on the primary offense or a lesser term. The maximum penalty cannot be less than the maximum term for the first conviction. Do you understand the charge, the maximum penalty, and the habitual offender second offense notice?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you have the right to be represented by counsel, and Mr. Lee is here today to represent you only for your arraignment purposes. You do have the right to have counsel represent you throughout the pendency of this criminal prosecution and to represent you and be present if you make any court appearances, and to be representing you and be present if you're questioned by law enforcement. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can seek to have the public defender's office represent you at the expense of the public. Do you understand your right to counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is he requesting court appointed counsel?
Yes, he is, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Kalki-Gerard, you have the right to remain silent. Anything that you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You can plead not guilty or you can stand mute. If you stand mute, this matter will proceed to a trial. You have the right to jury trial. You have the right to have a preliminary examination in this matter because you're being charged with a felony. You have the right to have a preliminary examination within 21 days of today's date, unless you waive that 21-day timeline or the court finds good cause. At the time of your preliminary examination, you have the right to require the prosecutor establish that they have sufficient probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause sufficient to charge you with the crime. Do you understand those rights so far?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're currently scheduled for probable cause conference before Judge Stacia Buchanan, Thursday, February 29th, 2024, 10 o'clock in the morning. You have the option of appearing in person or via Zoom for your probable cause conference. You have a preliminary examination before Judge Buchanan, Thursday, March 7th, 2024, 9 a.m. You must appear in person for preliminary examination. Did you get your notice to appear and Zoom instructions for Judge Buchanan?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you have the right to the presumption of innocence, so you're innocent until proven guilty, and you have the right to require the prosecutor prove your guilt at a jury trial. You have the right to remain silent at jury trial and not have silence be used against you. You have the right to see, hear, or question any witness called to testify against you at court. You have the right to require or to have witnesses subpoenaed on your behalf to testify as to your defense, and you have the right to present evidence at your trial. You have the right to require the prosecutor to prove each element of the charge being brought against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you have any questions about those rights?
No, Your Honor.
The court's going to enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. Are you currently employed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where?
America's Best Value Inn.
What's your home address?
1100 Ramada Drive, room 136.
What's your phone number?
517-348-4112.
Are you currently on probation or on parole?
Yes, Your Honor.
Which one?
I'm on parole.
That's a parole hold, Mr. Lee?
Again, there is, it mentions it on the jail sheet, but I don't see it anywhere else. It just says hold for another, so I don't have any notice of it, Your Honor.
Do you have any other matters pending in court?
Yes.
You have two other matters pending?
Yes. I got actually a warrant in one county and I got two actually that I didn't realize I had the warrant until the traffic stop yesterday. But I've been attending the other two for Livingston County and Eaton County. I actually got court on Livingston County on Friday at 8:30. Then the one in Battle Creek that I found out I have a warrant. If they don't come and get me, I'm about to go turn myself in on it.
Counsel, you can address bond.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Kalki Gerard does have some criminal history, and I think that the court has reviewed it and is aware of it. He is on parole. He recently got off tether and has been starting a GED program over at Lansing Community College. He does have a solid support structure here in the Lansing area. His mom, dad, sister, brother all live here in the Lansing area. He has been working and helps provide for and take care of 3 children that live in the area. He's got a 4th on the way. So we would just ask the court to consider that when setting bond.
Court concern as number one, he's got multiple issues pending, and then is also
Yeah.
already supposed under supervision, at least parole supervision. It's got some pending warrants. I do have a concern about his willingness and ability to follow court order on bond. Were you trying to say something, sir?
Yeah, I was about to say I'll follow court order and stuff. I just got a vehicle and that's what pinched me out of everything. So I didn't go through the vehicle clearly, so. But I was about to go get the vehicle legal and that's
Well, I'm
just.
gonna remind you again of your right to remain silent, because anything you say can be used against you,
No.
okay? Okay, I am gonna go ahead and set your bond for a personal recognizance bond. Bond is set at 500 personal recognizance. You need to make sure you appear to all of your future court dates. While out on bond, you're not to use, purchase, or possess a firearm, ammunition, or any other weapon. Do you understand that?
That's your honor.
You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You're not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol or drugs without a valid prescription. You need to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release. Do you have any questions about your bond?
No, your honor.
Any additional matters for the record?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
You're all set, sir.
Right, thank you, your honor.
You're welcome. On the record, in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Gregory Taylor, file number 24-00446 FY, council appearance.
Thank you, Your Honor. Assistant Public Defender John Lee appearing on behalf of Gregory Deshawn Taylor.
Step forward, please. Are you Gregory Deshawn Taylor?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Taylor, today is the date that we were proceeding with an arraignment on a felony complaint that alleges that on or about February 20th, 2024 at 420 South Grand, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, that you did allegedly, contrary to law, commit the act in count 1 of controlled substance possession of methamphetamine or ecstasy, alleging that you did knowingly or intentionally possess methamphetamine contrary to MCL 333.74032BI. That's a felony. The maximum penalty is 10 years in prison and or $15,000 in fines. There's an habitual offender fourth offense notice. It says, take notice that the defendant was previously convicted of 3 or more felonies or attempt to commit felonies, and that on or about July 29th, 2019, he was convicted of the offense of breaking and entering a business with the intent in violation of MCL 750.110 in the 30th Circuit Court, Ingham County, State of Michigan. And that on or about May 5th, 2016, he was convicted of the offense of larceny from a vehicle in violation of Michigan Compiled Law 750.356A1 in the 30th Circuit Court for Ingham County, State of Michigan. And that on or about January 6, 2016, he was convicted of the offense of breaking and entering a building with intent in violation of MCL 750.110 in the 30th Circuit Court for Ingham County, State of Michigan. and therefore the defendant is subject to the penalties provided by MCL 769.12 that enhances the penalty in count 1 to life if the primary offense has a penalty of 5 years or more, 15 years or less if the primary penalty was under 5 years. The maximum penalty cannot be less than the maximum term for the first conviction. Again, count 1 does have a penalty of more than 5 years. Do you understand the charge, the maximum penalty, and the habitual offender fourth offense notice, which increases the maximum penalty to life in this case?
Yes.
You have the right to representation by counsel. Mr. Lee is representing you for your arraignment only. You have the right to be represented by an attorney at all of your court appearances and to be represented if you're questioned by law enforcement. If you can't afford to hire an attorney, you can request to have the public defender's office appointed at the expense of the public. Do you understand your right to counsel?
Yes.
Is he requesting court-appointed counsel?
Yes, he is, Your Honor.
The court will enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. You have the right to remain silent. Anything that you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You can plead guilty, you can plead not guilty, or you can stand mute. If you stand mute, the matter will continue all the way to your jury trial. You are being charged with a felony. You have the right to a preliminary examination, and you have the right to have that examination within 21 days of your arraignment date, which is today. That 21-day timeline can only be waived by you, or the court has to find good cause to go beyond that 21 days in order to reset the matter, if for some reason it can't continue within 21 days. You have the right to require the prosecutor to put forth sufficient evidence at your preliminary examination to establish probable cause that a crime was committed, and then probable cause sufficient to charge you with the crime. You understand your right so far?
Yes.
You have the right to the presumption of innocence. You're innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to proceed all the way to your jury trial. You have the right to cross-examine, see, hear, or question any witness that the prosecution calls in the middle of your trial. You have the right to call your own witnesses or present evidence that you believe show a defense of the charge being brought against you. You have the right to remain silent at trial and not have that silence be used against you. And again, you have the right to require the prosecutor prove each element of the charge being brought against you beyond a reasonable doubt at your trial. Do you have any questions about those rights?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, my understanding is he has an MDOC hold, that's correct?
I will have to take your word for it, Your Honor. I don't have a confirmation on this end, but I do see as to where, yeah, it does look like they do want to hold them.
Are you currently on probation or just parole, sir?
Parole.
Okay. Are you employed?
Yes, I am.
Where?
Gregory Soul Food.
What's your home address?
505 Thompson Street, Apartment 3, Lansing, Michigan, 48933.
Phone number?
517 328 9982.
328-9982.
Yes.
You said it was 505 Townsend Street?
Yes.
What's the apartment?
301.
You're currently scheduled for probable cause conference before Judge Anthony Flores. It's going to be on Thursday, February 29th, 9 a.m. You can appear in person or via Zoom for the probable cause conference. You have a preliminary examination before Judge Flores. You must appear in person March 7th, 2024 at 8:30 in the morning. Did you get your notice to appear for those dates and Zoom instructions?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any other matters pending in any other courts?
Yes, I do.
Where's that?
This court,
So you're currently on bond?
yes,
Which judge?
excuse me,
What judge are you before?
Flores,
Is that the possession? Yeah. You can address bond, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Taylor reports several contacts with the criminal justice system, much that similar to what the court has reviewed. He is scheduled to be sentenced in Judge Flores's court in March, I think it's March 22nd, and is currently on parole with a tether. Mr. Taylor has lived here in the Lansing area his whole life and has extensive family in the area, and is working, and would ask the court to consider a 10% bond on Mr. Taylor's behalf.
What was the charge that he's being sentenced on?
Possession of methamphetamine, Your Honor.
He took a plea in that matter?
I have to check the ROA to double check, but it does appear that it, has been resolved.
If he's being sentenced before Flores, it can't be for possession.
That's true. Plea hearing held, amended charge, use. It was use, Your Honor.
Admitted to use.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Is he, okay, well, I don't know what's going on with the parole hold anyways. It doesn't sound like he's gonna be leaving anytime soon due to that. The court will set a bond at 12,000, 10%. While out on bond, you're not to use, purchase, or possess firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You're not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol or drugs unless you have a valid prescription. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You are going to be required to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release. And if not already ordered by the court, you will be participating in your analysis testing. Do you have any questions?
no, ma'am.
Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
Nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're all set, sir. On the record, in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Shativa Russell, file number 24-00447. Counsel appearance.
Assistant Public Defender John Lee appearing on behalf of Shativa Marie Russell.
Shativa Russell.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Ms. Russell, today's the date and time set for an arraignment. I have a felony complaint here. It alleges that on or about February 20th, 2024, at the area 5717 Orchard Court, Apartment 4, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, you did allegedly in count 1 commit the act a police officer assaulting, resisting, obstructing. The allegations, ma'am, are that you did assault, batter, wound, resist, obstruct, oppose, or endanger Officer Seth Ostentowski, a police officer of the Lansing Police Department that the defendant knew or had reason to know was performing his duties, and that this was done contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.81D1. This is a felony. Maximum penalty is 2 years and or $2,000 in fines. A consecutive sentence may be imposed if the assault was committed in a place of confinement or under MCL 750.81D6 for another violation arising from the same set of transactions. Do you understand the charge and the maximum penalty, ma'am?
A little bit, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I just want to make sure you understand the charge, and that doesn't mean do you agree with the charge? There's a difference. So I just want to know if you understand it, because if you don't, I'll try to explain it to you better. But I'm not asking you, do you agree with the charge? That's a different question, okay?
Yes.
Okay, so do you understand the charge I read and the maximum penalty?
Yes.
Okay, you have the right to be represented by counsel. Mr. Lee from the Public Defender's Office is representing you only for your arraignment. You have the right to have an attorney represent you at each criminal appearance on this matter in court, and you have the right to be represented by an attorney if you're questioned by law enforcement. If you can't afford to hire an attorney, you can make a request to have the Public Defender's Office appointed to represent you at the expense of the public. Do you understand your right to counsel?
Yes, ma'am.
Is she requesting court-appointed counsel?
Yes, she is, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Russell, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You can plead not guilty, or you can stand mute. If you stand mute, the matter will continue all the way to a jury trial. You have the right to a preliminary examination in this matter because you're being charged with a felony. You have the right to have that examination within 21 days of today's date, unless you waive that timeline or the court finds good cause to go beyond the 21 days. At the time of your preliminary examination, you have the right to require the prosecution establish that they have sufficient evidence to support probable cause, and that's probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause sufficient to charge you with the crime. Do you have any questions about that so far?
No, ma'am.
You're scheduled for a probable cause conference before Judge Tony Flores. It's going to be February 29th at 8:30 in the morning. You can appear via Zoom or in person for that hearing, okay? You have a preliminary examination. It's scheduled Thursday, March 7th, 2024, 8 a.m. You must appear in person, 9 a.m. You must appear in person for that one, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you get a copy of your notice to appear?
Yes, ma'am.
Again, you have the right to the presumption of innocence. So you're innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to jury trial. You can proceed to jury trial, and you can require the prosecutor to prove your guilt by proving each element of the charge being brought against you beyond a reasonable doubt. At your trial, you have the right to remain silent and not have that silence be used against you. You have the right to see, hear, or question any other witnesses the prosecutor calls against you at your trial. You have the right to have witnesses subpoenaed to testify for you at your trial and to present evidence at your trial that you believe show a defense to the charge being brought against you. Do you have any questions about your trial rights?
No, ma'am.
What's your current home address?
636 Miss Kavanaugh.
Are you employed?
Yes, ma'am.
Where's that?
I work at 2 jobs, MSU and Taco Bell in South Cedar.
What's your phone number?
517-582-6909.
Are you currently on probation or on parole?
Ma'am.
I don't see anything else in her criminal history. You can address bond counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Russell reports no prior criminal history. This is her first experience with the criminal justice system. As she mentioned to the court, she is working. She has 2 jobs and stays pretty busy. She is currently living with her mother and her younger sister. They provide her primary support structure here in the Lansing area. We believe that she will be an active and enthusiastic participant in the process, Your Honor.
A bond will be set in the amount of $500 personal recognizance. You must return to court for all of your next court dates, okay, ma'am?
Okay, I do have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that like my PR?
I'm sorry?
Is that like my PR bond, the 500?
Yeah, I said personal recognizance. Yep, it's PR. PR meaning I'm releasing you on your personal recognizance. I'm expecting you to return back to court because you said you're going to return to court. That's what your bond is going to be set as, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your clarification.
No problem. You also have additional requirements though while you're on bond. And those requirements include that you're not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You're not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol or drugs while you're on bond unless you have a valid prescription. You're not to leave the state of Michigan unless you first get approval from the court. And then you have to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release from custody today, okay?
Okay.
Do you have any questions about your bond condition?
No, ma'am.
And you can get the information from the jail as to how you contact pretrial services, okay?
Okay.
Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
Nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. You're all set, Ms. Russell. On the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Tara Heather Smith, file number 24-00266, counsel appearance.
Assistant Public Defender John Lee appearing on behalf of Tara Heather Smith.
You, Tara Heather Smith?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the Smith, I have a misdemeanor complaint here. The complaint alleges that on or about January 1st, 2024 at 612 South Sycamore Street, Apartment 4, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, you did allegedly commit the act in count 1 of domestic violence. The allegations is that you made an assault or assault and battery upon a Corey Bennett, an individual with whom you had a child in common and or an individual with whom you had a dating relationship, and that this was contrary to Michigan compiled law 750.812. Restitution may be ordered as this offense may have resulted in damage to another individual's property or physical injury or death to another individual. This is a misdemeanor, maximum penalty 92 days in jail and or $500 in fines, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Do you understand the charge and the maximum penalty?
Yes, ma'am.
You have the right to be represented by an attorney. Mr. Lee is representing you only for today's purposes, which is your arraignment, but you have the right to have counsel represent you at each stage of the criminal prosecution, and you have the right to be represented by an attorney if you're questioned by law enforcement. If you can't afford to hire an attorney, you can make a request to have the public defender's office represent you at the expense of the public. Do you understand that right to counsel?
Yes, ma'am.
Is she requesting court-appointed counsel?
Yes, she is, Your Honor.
The court's going to enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf, but I am going to advise you that you do have the right to plead guilty. You can plead not guilty, or you can stand mute. If you stand mute, the matter just continues all the way to your jury trial. You have the right to the presumption of innocence, so you're innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to require the prosecutor to prove your guilt at trial by proving each element of the charge of domestic violence beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to see, hear, or question any witness or to cross-examine the accusers the prosecutor brings to court to testify against you. You have the right to have witnesses subpoenaed on your own behalf to put forth evidence and testimony that you believe support your defense. And then you have the right to remain silent and not have silence be used against you. Do you have any questions about your trial rights?
No, ma'am.
Okay, the court's again going to enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. Are you currently employed?
Yes, ma'am.
Where's that?
Dean Transportation.
What's your home address?
4821 Duvernay Drive. Apartment 312, Lansing, 48910,
What's your phone number?
517-703-7028.
Is that the address of Corey Bennett at all?
No, ma'am.
You're currently scheduled for pretrial conference before Judge Stacia Buchanan Monday, March 4th at 2 p.m. You can appear via Zoom or in person for that. Did you get your notice to appear?
Yes, ma'am.
If you're gonna appear via Zoom, you need to be in a position, in a place that's appropriate for you to conduct a court proceeding. So you can't appear via Zoom while you're, let's say, for example, driving a deemed transportation bus. You need to be stationary and in a position to conduct a court proceeding. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you currently on probation or on parole?
Ma'am.
Have you ever missed court before?
No, ma'am.
I don't have a criminal history for her at all. Did you want to address bond?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Smith reports only one prior conviction. It was a larceny conviction in 2012 in the state of New York. Otherwise, she reports a clean criminal history. She was very concerned about this particular matter and voluntarily turned herself in, as she has informed the court. She is working. She is the mother of 4 children and lives here in the Lansing area, and has a solid support structure with her mother and her brother, both living in the area as well. We would ask the court to consider a personal bond on Ms. Smith's behalf.
Bond is set at 500 personal recognizance with a no contact order in place, protecting the alleged victim, Corey Bennett. So you're not to have contact directly or indirectly with Corey Bennett during the pendency of this matter, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
You're not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever he is. You're not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You're not to use drugs or alcohol unless you have a valid prescription. And you need to make sure you go to all your court dates. Do you have any questions about your bond conditions?
Ma'am.
I'm sorry?
No, ma'am.
Any
No
additional
question.
matters for the record? Thank you. Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
Nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're all set. Thank you. On the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Maya Anderson Jones, file number 19-0493, 73 SM. Counsel appearance.
Assistant Public Defender John Lee appearing on behalf of Maya Anderson Jones.
Maya Anderson Jones.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, looks like you were before me last February 22nd, 2021. You appeared at 10:10, which was late. Nonetheless, we set your matter for a final pretrial. We put it on for March 22nd at 8 o'clock in the morning. March 22nd came, but you did not. Did you forget? your court
No,
date?
ma'am, I never received the notice for it. I was in the process of moving when I was dealing with the court.
We told you the time when you were in court. Did you forget?
Never received the notice, ma'am.
No, I didn't ask you, did you get something in the mail? Because I handled the
And I'm-
case. I told you
Okay.
your date in court. Because I always tell you your date in court. Your next court date is. Did you not calendar that date or remember it? Because it's your
No, ma'am.
responsibility.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did you forget that you had a pending court case?
No, I did not forget.
Where you been for the last 3 years?
I've been in Lansing the last 3 years.
Why didn't you come to court?
Because like I said, I never received the notice to come to court, so I didn't think it was anything. I thought it was dropped or something.
Oh, okay. Counsel, you can address bond.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Anderson Jones has expressed to me her desire to participate in this case and get it resolved now that she is here and is reminded of it. We would ask the court to reset her bond in a manner that will allow her to participate and resolve this matter.
Your next court date is going to be March 19th, 2024 at 10:30 in the morning. Did you hear me say that?
Yes, ma'am, and I have the paper for it.
Okay, very good. Whether you get a paper or not, once you're told on the record, you're responsible for keeping up with your court dates. Unless the court told you that your matter was dismissed or your attorney, who is a officer of the court, essentially tells you that your court case is dismissed. It's unreasonable for you to believe that your court case went by the wayside and you don't need to appear in court on a pending matter that was set for a final pretrial on an assault of crime, no less. I think that the likelihood of her returning Mr. Lee on her own is slim to none. Bond is set in the amount of $700 cash. All her previous bond conditions from 2021, which included a no contact order protecting a Torian Alicia. There was also an order not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. I think I heard her say she was in Michigan up until recently. Sounds like she might have violated that first portion of the court order. Don't talk over me. Don't talk over me. There is a order for you not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon, not to use, purchase, or possess marijuana unless you have a medical marijuana card, and you're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. Do you have any questions for the court regarding your bond conditions?
No.
Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
Nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're all set, ma'am. We have a hearing. We have a hearing.
We were supposed to.
There was somebody on the Zoom, but they logged off.
Well, you told both the attorney, you told the attorney you wanted him and his client here in person last.
Yep, because I only hold hearings in person. Let's see here. Well, maybe they logged off because they're on their way.
Well, I spoke to the attorney prior to coming to court today.
Well, we're not on the record, so I have 3 more arraignments. That's why I asked you
Okay,
to have.
all right.
Okay, on the records in the matter of the people of the city of Lansing versus Alicia Deschanel. Can you pronounce your last name for me, please, ma'am?
Deschanel.
Okay, Ms. Deschanel, I actually have 3 cases here. There is, and they're all city of Lansing. One file number 21L26974992 and 91. And then I also have a 21L2623632. The file number ending in 492 is a failure to display ops. Looks like you were supposed to be before the court for a pretrial on May 3rd, 2022 at 9 o'clock in the morning. Let's see here what this note says. It said failed to appear by April 18th, but that doesn't make any sense. She was arraigned on April. Oh, you were supposed to appear for arraignment. Got it. On April 18th at 3:30, and then you would have a pretrial, May 3rd, 2022 at 9 a.m. And then you did not appear for those court dates. It looks like you might have tried to appear before and they set it for an arraignment on the failure to appear. Your new pretrial on this matter is going to be March 5th, 2024, 10 o'clock in the morning. Did you get your notice to appear?
I don't believe so, no.
They didn't give you.
Oh, yeah, I do. I do have it. Yeah, I do. I got it.
I believe you got a notice to appear in 2022 as well. I don't ever buy that people don't get notices to appear or that you weren't told on the record what your court date was. Nonetheless, I also have file numbers ended in 3632. You owe a balance of $222 on that matter. And then file number ending in 491, you owe a balance of $210. So how much you paying today?
I can pay, I think I came in at jail with like $400, so I can pay all that today.
Wonderful. So I'll put here that you'll pay the oldest file number here looks like it is the one ending in 491. You'll pay that in full today. And then you'll be almost paid in full on the 222 on the other matter. However, let's see here. I'm assuming that they put some fees on that. Can you print file number ending in 3632? Is that file electronic file? No. Okay, let's see here. Okay, you're gonna pay the file number that ends in 4791. You owe $210. You'll pay that in full. On the file that you owe $222, you'll pay you'll put the remaining balance of the $400 in cash that you had claimed you had on that. And once you do that, I will waive $37, a $37 penalty to I'm gonna waive a $37 penalty, and that should take care of that file as well, okay?
Okay. And then what about like the failure to provide ops? Is that like a PR bond or?
Well, we're gonna adjust that in just a bond. I mean, PR bonds are really for people who come back to court. That's the whole personal recognizance thing. You gotta demonstrate to us that when we tell you to come to court, you're responsible and you're willing to return to court. But if you don't show up and then a couple of years goes by, it doesn't really give us the presumption that you're going to return back to court. And this is not your first time doing that on this file. Or your second time on this file. What's your address?
3938 Halters Ridge Drive, apartment 3.
Did you hear that? Say it again.
3938 Hunters Ridge Drive, apartment 22 or apartment 3.
Your phone number?
99-487-5838.
Okay, and you do have your next court date? Did I give it to you? Because I don't, oh, March 5th. Your next court date's March 5th, 10 o'clock in the morning. You got your notice to appear?
Yes.
Your bond is set on that matters, 100 PR bond. Please go to court and don't make the police have to put you in jail over traffic matters. Thank you. You said we have the physical files for this one?
Yeah, it should have been.
Oh, there it is. On the record, in the matter of Parwam Patem versus William Anderson, file number 23-2318 LT. Council can have your appearance. You can have a seat.
Good afternoon, Mike Mataloni on behalf of William Anderson.
Okay, and
He's here in the courtroom.
thank you. Today was the date that I reset this matter for a hearing. This was not the first time that we were set for a hearing, but I have a note from December 6th. Plaintiff's attorney failed to appear. I gave the option of resetting. The matter was set for hearing today. There was not a counterclaim on this. Is that correct? It failed to appear. How do you want to proceed?
Well, as I was stating earlier prematurely, I did speak to opposing counsel today. Not only did he tell me he was going to call me back, but he said he would be here today at 1 o'clock to do other matters. I understand that his client is in Lebanon and not allowed back in the country. So I'm asking the court to dismiss the matter.
Case is dismissed.
Thank
Can
you.
you provide a dismissal? Do you have one? Or is that something else you're printing?
We can just wait in the hallway.
I'm not sure if that's what he's printing. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. On the record, in the matter of the people of this. Oh, wait. This session had two other things.
Thanks.
I need Ms. Deschanel back. She had two other cases.
Thank you.
I'm not following what happened. Was she ever arraigned on this? No, default judgment. Okay. I'll move forward to the next person. On the record, in the matter of the people of the city of Lansing versus Felipe De Jesus Yanes Martinez, file number 17-043560D.
Martinez.
You're Felipe Yanes Martinez.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, today's the date that we're moving forward with a collections warrant. Looks like you owe $1,070 and you've not made a payment since 2022. Why haven't you been making your payments?
I'm not sure. I think
Oh,
I got it mixed up with another payment I was doing in Ingham County.
gotcha. How much you gonna pay today?
I'm sorry.
How much are you paying today?
Actually, I don't have anything on me, so I'll probably start paying next week.
Are you working?
Yes.
Where?
I do construction.
Construction for whom? You work for a
For my
company?
brother. My brother-in-law.
What's your home address?
1207 Furnace Street.
Okay, You were before the magistrate back on July 29, 2022. You told her that same excuse, that you got it confused with another matter that you're on. Do you recall that?
Mm, uh, was that in this court?
Absolutely. It was the magistrate here on this matter. This matter has been pending since 2017. And you think that we want to keep tracking you down for you to make your payments and remind you that you got payments? I think you know you have payments. And I think you're gonna go have a seat and figure out how much you're gonna pay today, and then I'll bring you back up.
Well, I don't have
Do we
anything
have-
on me.
Okay, well, you go figure out how you're gonna make a payment so that we can figure out how we can move forward with this. Is Ms. Deschanel back in the jail?
Yes, ma'am. Sir, so she wants to just have a seat on them?
Okay, Ms. Deschanel, I didn't realize you had two other files stuck on top of the next files. And so I have here people of the city of Lansing versus Alicia Deschanel. File number is 22L26935051. And then I have people of the city of Lansing versus Alicia Deschanel, file number ending in 52. One is for a careless accident and text messaging. That's actually on the same ticket that you received allegedly back on April 9th, 2022 at approximately 2:21 p.m. at the area of Baker Street and Lyons Ave, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan. And the allegations were that you were upon that area while reading or typing a text messaging, and that you engaged in a careless driving accident. And you were supposed to, an officer even indicate on the citation that you stated on the scene that you were texting and driving and not paying attention to the road before crashing. You were supposed to appear in court on that citation. You failed to appear in court. There were default judgments entered on both. For the careless driving, you owe $312. For the text messaging, you owe $282. I need to know when you're gonna pay those.
I can pay them once they get out. I get paid next week, so I just got paid this weekend, so I have a paycheck.
How
I
much
can
you gonna pay on?
I
You're
can
gonna
pay
pay how
300.
much?
300 towards both. Do I just go up, like go up to the courthouse and pay on it, or pay over the
Yeah,
phone?
to the 6th floor criminal traffic window. If you want to pay in person, you can pay online, but you have to have the case number to do that, which is the numbers that I called out on the record. The other, so you're gonna pay 300 each, or you're gonna pay 300 and you're putting 150 on one, 150 on the other?
That's what I'm gonna do, 150 on each.
Okay.
I can do
You're
more
gonna
if
do
I
that
check.
by next Friday?
Yes.
Okay, next Friday is, we're already in March, huh? March 1st. When are you gonna pay the balance?
What will be the remainder of the balance? I'll just make a payment the following week. I get paid as well. I get paid every week, so.
You're gonna pay the balance the next week, you're saying, or are you just gonna keep making payments until paid in full?
I'll keep making payments till paid in full.
Okay, so I'll note here, you're gonna pay 150 on each of them by the 1st of each month. I also note that you will pay in full no later than the 1st of April, okay? That means if you're making payments every week, you should be paid in full by April on both of these.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you. You're all set.
Thank you.
On the record in the matter of the people of, let's see what this is. This is the city of Lansing. State of Michigan versus Jason Edward Els, file number 17-00166 SM. Council appearance. I'm sorry, we don't have council on this. These are, Mr. Lee, we might be all set on you because I think these are all collections.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. I don't know if there was, seemed like there was one more.
I did everything on my list except for, I have to recall Mr. Martinez.
Okay, yep, absolutely. Thank you so much, Your Honor. It was a pleasure. I hope you have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Have a good one. Okay, let's see. And you are Mr. Jason Els?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Els, you are here on a collections warrant because you owe $4,621.08. But you not made any payments, so there's been a fee added to that for interest or late fee costs, and it's now $4,771.08. You owe the $4,621 to Morley Inc. as restitution. But you've not made any payments. Are you working, sir?
I know, ma'am, I'm on disability.
Okay, you saw, it looks like the magistrate back in January 2023, you were incarcerated at Lake County, or at least you had been prior to seeing the magistrate. You were told to report to collections upon your release. You didn't do that.
Yeah, no, I ended up going from jail to a psychiatric hospital, and it just slipped my mind.
Okay, so I gotta get you on a payment plan because it's restitution. We can't waive restitution. You owe to a victim. So we gotta get you on a payment plan so that we don't have to keep bringing you into court.
Okay.
When can you make a payment?
I mean, I get paid on the 26th of this month.
How much you gonna pay?
I can pay a couple hundred probably. But I mean, I can't go anywhere if I'm in, or I can't do nothing if I'm in here.
Well, I'm not asking you about what you can do from in there. I said how much you're gonna pay.
I could pay like $250, $300.
So you're gonna pay $250, $300 every month?
Yeah.
And you're positive, because if I put that there, then the expectation is that's what you're gonna pay. If that's too high, you need to be realistic.
I mean, 250's reasonable.
Okay, I agree, especially since you have this large balance. I'll put that you'll pay $250. You get paid on the 26th, so I'll say the payment's due on the 27th, okay? And you'll make a payment of $250 on the 27th of each month.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions about how you make payments?
No, ma'am.
Okay, you're all set, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right, she wouldn't deal with that.
Yeah. What am I gonna use?
Back on the record in the matter of the people of the city of Lansing versus Felipe Yanes Martinez. Okay, when are you gonna make a payment and how much?
I can do $30 today, and then
You can do $30 when today?
yup, and then make a payment, set up a payment plan
For how much?
for $50 weekly.
Okay, what day of the week you planning to pay? Thursday or Friday?
Friday.
Yeah, I'll note here you'll pay $30 today and then you'll make a payment of $50 weekly each Friday until paid in full. Do you have any questions about how to make payment?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, any additional matters or questions that you have today?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. You're all set.
Thank-
Thank you. Do we have anything else? I don't think I have anything in the jail.
No, that's it, Your Honor.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Hey.